These facts will spark more curiosity than 100 episodes of Bill Nye the Science Guy. We start with a story that's literally cool for cats. I'm Mike with List25, and here are 25 cool facts to spark your curiosity. Cats should be chasing rodents, right? Well, not in this story, they aren't. A feline friend decided to walk into Zoo Negara in Malaysia, where it approached the capybara enclosure. And if you don't know what a capybara is, then I'll tell you. It's a great big rodent. In fact, it's the largest rodent you'll find on planet Earth. Maybe that's why the cat made friends with the capybaras rather than chase them. Either way, the unusual animal combination has proved a hit with visitors to the zoo. Our next story takes place out in the wild, where things got really wild. It's weird to think about, but dinosaurs used to roam all over the Earth. Definitely something to consider if you're in the great outdoors of an unlikely location like North Dakota. It's here where two boys and their father stumbled upon the fossil of a Tyrannosaurus rex in 2022. At first, they saw the remains sticking out of the ground and didn't know what it was. However, upon further investigation, they uncovered the fearsome-looking teeth of the iconic predator. Appropriately, for a dino discovered by young men, the so-called Teen Rex is thought to have been approximately 15 years old when it died. Now, the fossil itself is a little bit older, it's 67 million years. In a cool twist, this remarkable find wound up in a documentary about the T-Rex, narrated by Jurassic Park legend Sam Neill. Things aren't what they seem in the world of fossils, but they're pretty strange in the world of farmers, too. Just because someone's in their 60s and not dressed in the right outfit doesn't mean they can't compete in sporting events. This point was made in a spectacular way by Cliff Young. The aging potato farmer won the Sydney to Melbourne Ultra Marathon in 1983. Young's incredible achievement involved him in running an ankle-shattering 544 miles across 5 days, bagging $10,000 in the process. He wore his overalls and lacked any professional training. So, how far ahead was the unlikely marathon runner compared to his fellow athletes? Apparently, he was 10 hours in front of his nearest rival. 10 hours. I guess when you're looking for the toughest of the tough, you gotta go call an Australian potato farmer. Working the land is a steady job, but it can have some truly unexpected consequences. It's amazing what you can discover when you're simply doing your job. Unless you're just in your room. I'm not going to discover much in here. For British conservationist Joe Davis, this involved finding the 10-meter-long fossil of an ichthyosaur at a nature reserve in 2021. Joe figured he'd be having a fairly typical day doing some maintenance work. Instead, he turned into a famous fossil hunter, albeit an accidental one. To top off this incredible story, the ichthyosaur fossil Joe spotted was the biggest of its kind uncovered in the UK. The fact the remains were surprisingly intact despite being around 180 million years old makes things even more surprising and cool. An ichthyosaur at a nature reserve is one thing, but a tornado baby is quite another. If a baby is unfortunate enough to be caught in the strong wind of a tornado, then the outcome is bound to be grim. Unless you're little Lord Moore, a 4-month-old baby boy who was lifted into the air from his basket. In a freaky variation of the story of Moses being sent down the river, Lord went up to the heavens and faced a truly uncertain fate. His family home was torn apart during the devastating weather event in Clarksville, Tennessee in fall 2023, leading to the tornado literally taking the baby. So what happened? Thankfully, Lord was found safe and well inside a tree that had fallen over. Surfers vs. Otters sounds like one of the strangest horror movies out there, but it's actually our way of describing a real-life case from 2023 where one otter became hazardous to humans. A furry creature named Otter 841 had been released from captivity 3 years earlier, and she had a bizarre way of adjusting to life in open water. Otter 841 chose to hang out where the surfers did their thing in Santa Cruz. However, she also wanted in on the action. So if you were out surfing and you saw Otter 841, she wouldn't be offering a cheerful hello, she'd be stealing your board from under you, and giving the sport a try herself. She went from cuddly critter to public menace, and as far as I'm aware, she's still at large today, so be careful in those waves. You'd think a dinosaur could take on a crocodile easily, yet the truth is more surprising. Confractosuchus saurochtonos was an ancient crocodile species from 95 million years ago that was discovered in the area of the Winton Formation in Queensland. It would reportedly grow up to 8 feet in length. However, there was a surprise waiting for the experts analyzing the fossil. You see, it turned out to be a fossil within a fossil. Inside the belly of the giant croc was a young ornithopod, or bird-like dinosaur. It was the first time that paleontological evidence of a crocodile chowing down on a dinosaur had been unearthed in Australian history. X-rays need to be used so the complex fossil could be properly studied. This was one reptilian badass that even a dinosaur would think twice about tussling with. You expect to find mold growing in your kitchen, but not in your brain. This is a cool yet frightening story that proves you should be extra careful when visiting a place you don't know. The unfortunate victim, Tyson Botanist from Rhode Island, was out on his bike in Costa Rica when he encountered the dark-colored mold Cladophyllophora batiana. Amazingly, he became infected through his elbow after falling from his bike and scraping his skin. From there, the mold entered his system and went to his brain, after which he experienced symptoms such as migraines and facial paralysis. Botanist now shares his headspace with a mold infection, which is a horrible thing, but something he's learned to live with. A couple of years later, a stroke robbed him of the ability to walk, talk, and read, and he had to learn those skills all over again. To put things into context, he had a 1 in a million type experience and is suffering from something that has only affected 120 people over the past century or so. We now move from brains to barbarians. The Vikings worked hard, and it seems they played hard also, with toys. Is this remarkable artifact retrieved from the Seyðisfjörður excavation in Iceland in 2024 designed for children rather than adults? The object, shaped like some kind of animal, is thought to be an ancient action figure dating back to around 1100 CE. If it is an action figure, then it surely isn't fully posable. The 2.7 centimeter high toy is made from volcanic rock. It figures, literally. I mean, what else would they make a Viking action figure out of? Volcanoes play a big role in our next story, too. The human story of the Pompeii disaster of 79 CE is well documented through the eerie remains of people found in the ash in the centuries following that devastating eruption. These have lasted long after the volcano spewed its last. But what about the animals of Pompeii? We get a chilling insight into the fate of some four-legged friends thanks to discoveries such as a saddled and harnessed horse, which was found at a nearby villa in 2018. Like the humans that rode it, the horse became a skeleton, before volcanic material created a gruesome replica of the surrounding flesh. We think a lot about the ground beneath our feet, but what about the ground at the bottom of the ocean? Sinkholes exist under the ocean as well as on land. In fact, the deepest sinkhole ever discovered is the Tam Ja Blue Hole, which is under the waters of Chetumal Bay in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. One of the coolest things about the hole is that its actual depth hasn't been worked out yet. It's not like you just throw a penny and count the number of seconds. This incredible natural feature requires a lot of exploration, though I doubt many divers would want to venture down there. You never know what might be waiting. It's unlikely that raccoons will be down there, but that's okay because we have enough trouble with them here on the surface. What's worse than your house being invaded by raccoons? How about your house being invaded by drunk raccoons? Believe it or not, German raccoons are on the offensive, breaking into people's homes and stealing beer. Sounds kind of funny, but it kind of isn't. The raccoons are highly destructive and have allegedly been said to attack beloved household pets. They aren't small in number either, with the situation being compared to a plague. Such is the scale of the alleged problem. How did Germans cope with the onslaught? Safety recommendations over there include blocking chimneys and cat flaps to prevent anything getting in. I certainly won't watch the classic kids cartoon series The Raccoons the same way again, that's for sure. Mining for gold in Siberia sounds like one of the world's most grueling jobs, but it has its advantages. For example, you can discover a cool dinosaur fossil that's been perfectly preserved by the frozen weather. The Coelodonta antiquitatis, a woolly rhinoceros from the Ice Age, was found in the Sac Republic in 2024. Furthermore, this intimidating creature still had its horn in place. With the ice keeping the creature in excellent condition, it must have seemed like the miners had stumbled upon a prehistoric animal 5 minutes ago, not 10,000 years. From the king of rhinos to King Kong, or rather a mechanical version. A cool method used by wildlife experts to monitor animal behavior is to send a robot spy into their natural habitat. The spy is created to look like the animal in question and resembles a special effects animatronic from a movie. As reported in 2020, a robot gorilla was sent into the wilds of Uganda to get an up-close and personal view of the real deal. Safe to say, these gorillas did not disappoint. From what we've seen, they behave a lot like adult males during their night outs, with singing and flatulence caught on film. Those who thought gorillas just hung out in the jungle looking majestic are in for a surprise. How long have people been smoking cannabis? The answer may shock you. Puffing on a spliff is an activity that goes back as far as 1,300 years. We found this out through an archaeological discovery in Shaanxi Province, northern China. This was the location of a tomb from the Tang Dynasty, which contained human remains belonging to a warrior and also cannabis seeds. This discovery was made in 2022 and shows that the ancient world can still make an impact on people here in the 21st century. Topics we debate hotly today, such as whether cannabis should be employed for medical use, are reflected in societies that are centuries old. You've heard about historical toques, now let's check out one remarkable Stokes. In 2012, a lady from Philadelphia passed away, leaving behind an incredible collection of video recordings. If you're one of our younger viewers and you don't know what a VCR is, then let me briefly enlighten you. Way before streaming services, people had to record TV shows onto video cassettes. And this was something that Marion Stokes took very seriously. She had her VCR constantly recording shows in a continuous streak which lasted 3 decades. By doing this, she captured television history, from news content to crazy vintage ads of the kind you've probably seen on social media. Her day job was that of a producer, activist, and librarian, so she was more than just a couch potato. This is actually from my bar mitzvah. Michael Estrin, May 29th, 1999. I was 13. Bar mitzvah temple service, so video cassette. I'm going to be transferring this to digital. Wine and TV aren't a great mix, though we have an amazing story about wine coming up. Finding liquid inside an urn within an ancient Roman tomb isn't exactly an appetizing idea. However, this gunk wasn't what it seemed. What archaeologists had discovered was the world's oldest known example of wine, located in the town of Carmona in southwestern Spain. You wouldn't want to drink this stuff, but you can certainly raise a glass to the people behind the cool historical find from 2019. After all, this beverage has gone a little beyond vintage. 2,000 years of history isn't going to do good things to a grape. Have you ever heard the old expression, the devil is in the detail? That certainly applies to our next story, where an old painting holds a dark secret. The Death of Cardinal Beaufort, a work of art by Sir Joshua Reynolds dating back to 1789, still had things to show unexpecting viewers in 2023. A conservation group working for the National Trust in England received a shock when spotting a demonic character in the historic Shakespearean scene. Reynolds deliberately included the scary figure as a nod to events in the play Henry VI Part 2, though he must have painted the most subtle demon in art history. Over 2 centuries later, the terrible vision had finally been revealed. To be fair, there must have been people in previous eras who saw the demon too, but this is the first time its presence was noticed in modern times. Imagine a huge creature heading right towards you with tusks coming out of its jaw on either side. This isn't a warthog, but a prehistoric type of salmon. Yeah, you heard me right. It's a fish. Or is it a pig? Measuring close to 9 feet in length, the Oncorhynchus rostrosus has previously been described as the saber-toothed salmon, though experts have reassessed this in light of recent information. Throw in details such as piranha-like teeth, and you have one crazy-looking salmon that isn't going to jump into the fisherman's net without a fight. An in-depth study of this beast became available in 2024, revealing hitherto unknown and indeed bizarre facts about our ancient bodies of water. If you think that tail of the sea is nasty, you don't know the half of it. Chlamydia is a sexually transmitted infection, well known for being passed around without the person being aware. What's not so well known is the fact that chlamydia was found at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. This isn't some South Park storyline, it's an actual thing that happened in 2020. And while some people might think it's hilarious to think about an STD making it to the freezing depths of the ocean, it's only part of the puzzle because chlamydia represents a group of bacterias. The truth behind this news is more sophisticated and opens up a bunch of questions for experts to answer. There's a right way to send an artifact to a museum, and then there's a wrong way to send an artifact to a museum. I'll leave it up to you to judge whether the person in this story did things by the book. It started when a parcel arrived at the National Museum of Ireland in 2024. The staff were delighted to find a couple of axe heads inside the package dating back to the Bronze Age. What was maybe less delightful was the box the axe heads were placed in, namely a porridge container. I should point out that the item was well packaged and there was nothing bad about using household items this way. You could say it was pretty cool for the artifacts to have been sent in a porridge box in the first place. The identity of the mystery sender turned out to be that of a farmer who hired a metal detectorist after encountering obstacles while working in the field. Time to flutter across our next cool fact. An Australian moth from Western Australia found its way to London's West End, where it was caught by an unsuspecting moth fan. The unusual moth, Tachystola mulligani, hadn't been known about before its discovery in the borough of Ealing. It's mind-bogglingly cool that it was finally revealed to the general public so far from its natural habitat. Here's a bonus fact about moths. Despite being part of the same order, there is a huge imbalance between the number of moths and butterflies in the world. The moth wins that particular battle, with an astonishing ratio of about 9 moths to every butterfly. Now here's a cool fact about dolphins that'll make you look at Flipper and company in a whole new light. Do you know there's a dolphin out there that appears to have thumbs on its flippers? This unusual specimen was noticed in Greek waters back in 2023. It swims in the area of the Gulf of Corinth, which is part of the Ionian Sea. Why does it have this difference in its fins? Well, the answer to that question appears to be more to do with a birth defect than any kind of dolphin evolution. Happily, the thumbs don't appear to cause the dolphin any difficulty, though it would be fascinating to learn if it uses them for any specific underwater purposes. From thumbs on your fins to nails in your feet. Ouch. We associate the act of crucifixion with the story of Jesus Christ, though he wasn't the only individual to suffer this brutal form of execution. In 2017, a gruesome archaeological discovery was made in the English village of Fenstanton, Cambridgeshire. Experts realized they were looking at a skeleton of a Roman man aged in his 20s or 30s who'd experienced terrible pain through crucifixion nails. Shockingly, a nail was still in position in the man's heel. Why did this happen to people in the first place? The ancient Romans regarded it as a humiliating method of execution, one that proved grimly effective. Now, I can't end on such a downbeat of a story, so our final fact should give you some hope. She may have passed away in 1997, but French citizen Jeanne Calment is in the record books as the oldest person in history. She made it all the way to the grand old age of 122. Naturally, when you hear a story like this, your first question is, what's her secret? Well, it seems she didn't particularly have one. Madame Clement enjoyed red meat, alcohol, and cigarettes through her long life, which is surprising to hear. I guess the age-old rule about having everything in moderation really applied here. Now, curiosity may have killed the cat, but it also inspired another fascinating video for List 25. If you're hanging on by a whisker, why not stick around for one more hit of information? They don't come cooler than the classic character the Fonz, played by Henry Winkler, so here's a question about his Happy Days legacy. Which popular expression, meaning that something is no longer cool anymore, was started after Fonzie did a water stunt in the episode Hollywood Part 3? Was it A, teasing the tuna, B, jumping the shark, C, baiting the bass, or D, hopping over the hammerhead? Let us know your answer in the comments. Now, we have more great content for you if you're not all facted out. There's a list of 100 facts that'll amaze you ready to watch right here. That's right, I said 100. That is 4 times more fun with even more factual goodness. Now, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. And I'll catch you again next time for a brand new list. See ya.